Welcome everyone to our Facebook Live session where we aim to discuss experiential learning and career services with students who were admitted for fall 2019. And as we begin, I'm going to ask our panelists of faculty and staff to go around the room and introduce themselves. And I'll begin with Professor Burke.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Kevin Burke. I'm a faculty member in electrical engineering. I'm also the co-director of undergraduate studies for EE.
Hello, everyone. My name is Holly Justice, and I work as a career counselor in the Career Services Office, and I work almost exclusively with the School of Engineering.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Harrington. I'm a faculty member in chemical and biological engineering. And I also serve as our Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education.
Good morning, I'm Andrew Olenek. I'm Director of Experiential Learning for School of Engineering and Applied Sciences.
Hello everyone, my name is Olga Bod and I'm Assistant Professor in Materials Design and Innovation Department here at UB.
And I am Shannon Phillips. I work in the Office of Undergraduate Education, and I am going to begin our conversation with some of the questions that we received beforehand. So my first question for our panelists is, how do students obtain internships, and do they get academic credit for them? So it's sort of a two-part question, and I'll let you decide.
Well, I'm happy to start. So again, Holly Justice, I work in the Career Services Office, so relating to internships. There's a variety of ways that students do get internships. Our office hosts internships and full-time positions onto our Bullseye Powered by Handshake system. So there is a one-stop shop system where students can look for internships being posted. So that's one option. And we also have two large career fairs with over 100 companies. So we'll have a career fair in the fall and in the spring semester. And so there's a lot of opportunities for internship and full-time coming through the career fair. And then our office talks with students a lot about networking and making connections and other strategies that you can employ to look for internships. So those are just a couple of ways to get started. And I'm sure a couple people want to jump in, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would add that that's sort of the official way to do it, right?
Yes.
Then of course there's always the more back channel or just connected ways, and so of course being involved in clubs and other kinds of extracurriculars around campus and off campus is a good way to make those connections that might ultimately lead to internships.
Yes.
I can also add to that and say that we know from our students' perspective that we have alumni that reach back all the time with opportunities, looking for interns. And also we hear from our students that it's also, you know, who in your family or a close friend or a neighbor works at an engineering company or firm and is looking to hire interns, and word gets out like that. With respect to credits specifically for EE, during the semester, if you work 10 to 12 hours a week at a technical internship, we allow you to register for 3 credits of what we call internship, and that counts towards one of your electrical engineering technical electives that you have to take during your senior year.
I'll just add a little bit to that in that, so what Dr. Burke mentioned about signing up for credits is something that's general across the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. All departments have what we call a 496 course, and students generally register for their 3 credits of that if they want to get credit for a technical elective within their program of study. I think it might also be worthwhile for us to mention that oftentimes you hear people mention internships and also at the same time mention co-ops. So internships, the way that we use that word within SEAS is more of a type of project you might engage in for maybe 3 months, maybe a summer period, maybe a semester. Co-ops tend to be longer experiences. Internships typically do not disrupt the normal sort of schedule of courses within a program, whereas co-ops, the general expectation, at least in terms of how we use it here at the University of Buffalo, is something that you would typically take 1 or 2 semesters off and work at a company instead of taking courses during that semester. One final point is that we can support both. So we don't have a model like at some schools where you have to do a co-op. So we work with different companies. Different companies come to us and say, you know, we'd like to have an intern. Some companies come to us and say, we'd much prefer to have a student that is with us for a 6 or 8 month period or something like that. And you know, we prefer that we have a co-op. And depending upon the company's needs, we try to match up as best we can with student interests. And we've done a lot of work in terms of our curricula, in terms of finding ways of reorganizing the curricula in such a way that students that want to do co-ops can do co-ops and still graduate in a reasonable period of time.
Okay, so our next question is geared more toward the faculty, and that is, what does it mean to get involved with faculty research? It's a 4-part question. How does it help you? And how do undergraduate students become involved with faculty research projects? And what does this look like in terms of the balance between coursework and research?
Wow, it's pretty, there's a lot of elements there. So I can talk a little bit about how we look for and recruit our undergraduate researchers. So specifically from our lab, you know, we teach a variety of courses, and we look for students who stand out with respect to engagement, showing an interest, and just general enthusiasm. We understand as faculty members that you may not know everything, but you have a desire to learn. And that's okay, and that's what we're looking for. So that's how we recruit. We're looking for interest, enthusiasm, for you to you know, take the first step and show up. With respect to you know, how you look for opportunities, you know, find something that's interesting to you. It's always going to be a better experience if you enjoy what you're doing. If you have an interest, you know, pursue it. See what faculty members are doing, and then just go talk to them. You know, knock on their door, send them email. Be persistent though, and you know, show that you're interested.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. So basically, the best way is just to ask and send email, approach your professor after the class. Just say what you're interested in, and this is the best way to make a connection. And if you are really devoted, then somehow things will just happen. I have experience with working with several undergraduate students, and they just stop by your office. But you need to, like, as a professor, you need to make them feel welcome, which is like our goal. And they do, just like you will find someone you would like to work with, just ask. And later on, it's just your enthusiasm, your engagement, and if you do work out some nice things, like project will just show up. So just ask.
All right, we have maybe a little technical difficulty here, but I'll mention that one of the really nice things about the University of Buffalo is it's what's called a Research 1 institution. And roughly speaking, what that means is that the faculty at this university are almost all engaged in research of some form. We have research faculty here that are internationally recognized experts in their fields. In terms of finding positions, that was already discussed a little bit. One other thing that I'll mention is that the university has a university-wide clearinghouse for undergraduate research experiences. It's something called CURCA, and it's a platform through which faculty can sort of proactively say, hey, you know, these are some projects that we have in our lab, and offer students the opportunity to come and explore further with that. One last point, so somebody asked about credit with respect to internships. It's a very similar situation with respect to undergraduate research. Instead of the 496 versions of the course, there's a 498 version of all of our courses. So for example, I'm in chemical engineering, and students routinely sign up for CE 498, a 3-credit version of it. And generally speaking, that is something that students can use to satisfy one of the technical elective requirements within their program of study.
Shannon, can I also add, and so one of the things that one of the fears that we hear from students is that, how do I know I'm gonna like it? And that's something that goes with anything. You just have to try it, right? You try it. If it doesn't work out, that's okay, that's great. You try something else. If you do like it, great, you try to continue. From the faculty perspective, we look at it as an investment. You know, we're training you to continue and become better and become a leader potentially in the lab. So you just have to try it. Just go out there and give it a shot.
And picking up on that, Holly, I think this element of the question is probably meant best for you, but how does it help you? You're an undergrad doing research. How does this benefit you?
So I can speak to that. I'm sure others can speak to it as well. How it helps you. So from my perspective, in regards to thinking about getting an internship, thinking about getting a job, or also thinking about graduate school. So obviously, doing research, whether it's during the academic year or you do research during the summer, it's an experience. And so that kind of experience on your resume, one, helps you to personally figure things out, just like Professor Burke was saying. You gotta try it and figure out, maybe you love research, or maybe you say, I'd like to this, but I don't think I wanna be a full-time researcher. From my perspective, either way, that's really helpful. That informs you about how you wanna move forward academically, professionally, and likewise, when you do research, you're gaining skills. And so you can use those skills going forward. They may be technical skills and soft skills. That may be things about working in a team, giving reports on a regular basis to the other members of the team, of the research group, along with, of course, probably using some kind of technical tools to conduct your research. So there's a lot of things you gain out of doing research that is helpful kind of no matter what direction you go. And I guess I should say, and the faculty can speak to, if you maybe think about graduate school, if you're thinking about that at all, obviously doing research will be helpful.
I'll just pick up on that a little bit. So one of the really nice things about doing research or any of these types of projects that you can get involved in at the University of Buffalo, where you're working in small groups with a faculty member, that faculty member really gets to know you well, and that faculty member can serve as a reference if you're looking for a position within industry. If you're looking to go to graduate school, that faculty member can write a really nice letter of recommendation for you, and graduate institutions can tell the difference between a faculty member that writes a letter for a student that they sort of know but don't really know, versus a student that has worked closely with them in their lab. You know, they can articulate the strengths of that student quite well, and that's typically something that a graduate institution you know, receives in a very positive way.
And then Dr. Olenek, can you share a bit about experiential learning and how that relates to research and how it's different from?
Sure. So I guess tacking on to the research question, like what is the benefit? From an employer perspective, it almost doesn't matter. Research versus being in a club versus doing some of the extracurricular things that I run. Employers look at that all the same because most of the time it is extracurricular. So that says a lot to an employer that, oh, not only does this student go to class, they're also looking for other opportunities. That means they really love engineering or really passionate about it. And that is really what employers want, along with, as Holly suggested, building these professional competencies that are really important too.
These are, sorry, go ahead.
And what kind of skills are students developing in extracurriculars that you facilitate?
Sure. So there's probably 4 or 5 that are really key. Some of it just comes down to initiative and planning. Since you are working on an extracurricular project, that tends to have some guidance from a faculty or maybe a grad student, but is still relying mostly on students driving it. You are demonstrating and building, geez, how do I plan a project and carry it out? Communication is huge. Just within your team, often these projects you work on will involve other students. And you have to do some writing. Again, you might have to do some presentations. You're going to build those kinds of professional competencies in terms of communication. A couple other things. The initiative thing is big too. A lot of projects I run tend to involve outside clients, so companies. I expect the students to be the ones engaging those clients to set up meetings and even figure out, well, what's the problem we're really trying to solve. Those are all things that are critical in employment in industry.
And so from the perspective of students who are not yet college freshmen, how do they become involved in that? So,
in the specific, well, really for any of the stuff we're talking about, so the way I treat it in the programs I specifically run, and I think this is generally applicable, it's hard for first year students to jump right into research in a lab or jump in right to projects that I might run with teams. But we've started building out this tinkering program, for example. So we have a number of labs where students are invited, encouraged to go and pursue tinkering. So this includes an electronics tinkering lab, a design studio, a digital manufacturing lab, which is 3D printing. There's an automation sandbox with some robotics in it. And we've developed modules for those where students can go in 1 to 2 hours. They can get through one of these modules and be exposed to something new. So that's a huge thing for first year students is when you get here, don't necessarily want to jump right into, I want to be on a club project. Sometimes that's hard to do. You have to be trained a little bit. But find ways that you can build some of those initial foundational skills. So tinkering, continuously showing up to club meetings, seeing what the senior club members are doing on a project, building an understanding. And that takes some patience. And even when it comes on the research front, I often have students as first year or even second year, they'll just come and they'll say, I want to do research, but maybe they don't know exactly what that is. And Dr. Burke already suggested, look at the faculty web pages for the department that you're going to be in. Take a look at what they do, find some of the keywords, look at some of the journal articles they might have published, even if you don't understand it, just to be a little bit familiar with what's going on there is huge. It opens your eyes to a lot.
Again, I want to reinforce that, it's okay if you've never done anything like this before. It's okay that you don't have the experience. But the idea is that you come in and you get experience and you learn how to do these things. Again, initiative is key. You just have to want to learn.
and I don't want to lose sight of that first question. So, and if you're not sure what kind of research you'd like to do, some of that exploration that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Is
first year exploration, that is, and I typically tell students when they arrive, your first semester should, I would argue, be about getting used to just, college life, university life, because that's a transition, and exploring lots of things, not necessarily committing to something.
So one way to get engaged is just to come to group meetings. So most of us, faculty, we do meet every week with our students, with student present. So just ask if you can come and sit in a group meeting, just to see what other students are working in this group. If this even excites you, right? So this is the great way to invest 1 hour a week and check few groups, to check what other people are doing. This is the easiest to get engaged, just to see.
I just want to say, I think Dr. Bodo makes a good point in that even if it's just an hour, your schedule is packed, you can't figure out how you're going to fit it in. An hour or two, something, and just get started. Just, get your feet wet, see what it's like.
People might have a question from we have international students joining us today, and that's fantastic. And there's a question perhaps about restrictions on being able to participate in internships or perhaps undergraduate research experiences, and maybe I'll ask Holly to comment on that.
Yeah. So it looks like there's a question that relates to legal restrictions for international students. So a student who's in the U.S. and is international, let's say is an F1 visa while they're here, it really is fairly, from a legal standpoint, fairly smooth to get an internship. Once you have a company who is interested and offers you an internship, you would need some work authorization that you get through the campus. It's called curricular practical training. And we have an office on campus called International Student Services. They're very helpful with students on explaining what that process is. And that process is fairly quick in regards to processing time on campus. So really for an undergraduate student, the first step is talk with employers, talk with your faculty, do everything that a domestic US student would to secure and get an offer for internship. And then after that, you'll take care of the processing. So it's fairly smooth.
I'll just briefly mention for undergraduate research experiences, there are no restrictions. So international students, just like domestic students, are welcome to come and work with the faculty in their labs, whether it be during the summer or during the semester. There are no restrictions there.
So Holly, picking up on that, what kind of services would students expect to find at Career Services?
Oh, sure.
And is it different for domestic versus international students?
Oh, so the services are for domestic versus international are really going to be the same. So although there are a couple of different workshops and probably a little bit more of that coming up in the next year or so, the Career Services Office is working together with the International Student Services Office for a couple more specialized workshops. But the resources that are available to international students as well as US domestic students is the same. So there's going to be our Bullseye system, again, which has internships and also part-time jobs on campus and full-time jobs. So all of that's available in there. There's also services, for example, you can meet with career service staff to have conversation about your resume or what you want to be the next step. Should you get internship? Do you really want to do research? Things of that nature. And we also do a lot of collaborative programs with the alumni office. So we have some events, and we also have a database of alumni who have volunteered to share their information and want to connect and help students. So our office is a point where we can get you connected to that database, tell you about the events that are going on, where you can meet with the alumni. As a lot of us have said, there's a lot of ways to, let's say, find an internship or a job, and some of that can certainly be through networking. I work with a lot of students who are a little hesitant because they say, well, my personal network maybe isn't really big. Our office and the university have events and resources to help you strategically grow that. And so our office is happy to talk with you about that. So we have a lot of different resources and ways that we help students with, whether that's figuring some things out about what they want as the next step, and then how do you reach that next step. Hope that was helpful.
I think it was. And so this question is more broad in terms of our panelists, but if you were to help me craft a checklist of specific things I can do to help build my resume beginning in my first year of undergrad to prepare myself for either the job market or graduate school, what would I do?
Well, I was going to say we actually have that. So there's something on the engineering website called the Professional Development Blueprint, and it's something we put together. It's a collective effort over the last probably about 2-3 years to build something out, and it's not just about first year. It's all 4 years of undergraduate, and it gives you some suggestions on what can you be doing and approximately, what should the timing of that be. So yeah, we would encourage all students to start there as a jumping off point.
I'll just say too, I've had an opportunity being as part of the Career Services Office to work with the School of Engineering when we worked together on creating the blueprint, and really helpful. So there's a lot of different thoughts from a lot of different places and offices on campus. So, but I think it's really put together nicely for a School of Engineering student because there's a lot, I want to emphasize that, there's a lot of opportunity at University at Buffalo. And I think the blueprint can be really helpful to figure out how to take advantage and get the most out of your experience at the university and also as an engineering student at the university. So,
I'll just note that we modeled it off of our flow sheets. So from an academic perspective, we have flow sheets that are available online that sort of lay out for a student what courses to take on a semester by semester basis. The professional development blueprint was something that we wanted to do in a similar way to get students to think about, okay, from a career perspective, what are the types of things that I should be thinking about and doing on a semester by semester basis. And I guess we just provided you the link to go check that out. But that's sort of the idea behind it.
So can any of you share about a question that comes up commonly on our tours is, does UB offer academic help or tutoring? And is there a cost involved with these things? What are the resources available for students if they feel like they need a little bit of extra help?
So I can start. I'm sure there'll be lots more to add. So as part of the first year experience, so we offer a sort of small classroom environment called small groups. And that is where in groups of 15 to 18, which is voluntary of course, you can come and there are faculty members who go through the key points of physics, chemistry, and calculus. And we teach you how to take apart the textbook, learn how to determine the key points, understand how to teach yourself, because engineering is all about lifelong learning, right? And so as you move forward into the high level classes, yes, you'll go to class, yes, you'll learn from the instructor, but also there's the opportunity for you to learn on your own. So with respect to tutoring and help from those early classes, we offer small groups that helps to frame up what that looks like with respect to moving forward and doing a little bit of learning on your own, in addition to getting help and making things a bit clearer.
Is it like free of cost?
It's free of cost. You don't have to register for it. It is voluntary. But of course, if you show up, we ask that you continually show up because we know that's how it's effective. An hour a week, depending on if you want to do one or all three, physics, chemistry, and calculus.
In terms of advisement, and everything I'll say is of course free of cost. Students within SEAS are advised by professional advisors within our Office of Undergraduate Education for the first 2 years. They start working with students soon after they matriculate in the sort of June area, work with students in terms of building a schedule for the first semester. And students routinely see advisors in that office for usually the first 2 years. And then faculty advisement takes over from that point. So at some point during the second year of study, students are paired with faculty advisors, and the faculty advisor becomes your primary sort of point of contact. One of the reasons that we sort of operate in that way is that the faculty advisor is someone that can talk to you about some of your career and professional development. Lots of students have questions about, hey, should I be going into graduate school? Should I think about industry? What sort of opportunities are available for me over the summer? How do I go about finding an internship? What about these things called REUs that the NSF has? And all sorts of questions like that the faculty member can really help with. And at the same time, the professional advisors within the Office of Undergraduate Education are still available to students and do help out with advisement in various different specialized sort of areas that students might need.
So I can also add that there are a lot of services offered by the university with respect to tutoring centers. There's a math help center, there's a chemistry and physics help center where the room is staffed with TAs around the clock, well, almost around the clock, fairly long hours that you can go and get help. And then we have a bunch of undergraduate honor societies who offer tutoring as community service. This is what they do. They have specific classes, the most popular classes, and they hold sessions and offer tutoring, of course free of charge, open to whoever wants to take part in that.
I just wanted to add that I always encourage students to look at resources available outside the university. So things like Khan Academy, even, that's a thing that's not talked about often for undergraduate students. Summer is long. The summer before you come into your first year is long. You will forget things, or you could use refreshers. So don't be afraid to look up on something like a Khan Academy and do a refresher on calculus classes or the physics they might have there. And I have a student that I work with who's fabulous with 3D printing, but was having some difficulty with his calculus coursework. And last summer, that's exactly what he did. He went through the Khan Academy classes, came back for the fall semester, and crushed it in his calculus class. So put him right back on track. So don't overlook those kinds of resources as well.
So as a major public research university, the University of Buffalo is a huge school, especially in comparison to the size of high schools. And so can you share a bit about how we've nurtured students to develop meaningful relationships in light of our size?
I can go for that. So as a first year student, you take a first year engineering seminar. And within that, you know, the structure of the course is yes, you're in a big lecture hall, you know, for a couple hours a week, but also you're in a room of, you know, 25 to 30 of your peers, right, for 2 hours a week within this just one class. And this is EAS 199. And so within these smaller room settings, you become paired with just people that are like you, people that are different from you, but ultimately you all have the same mission, which is to complete the engineering degree. You see the same 15 to 20 people day in and day out because you all are scheduled together. And maybe Dr. Arrington can talk a little bit about block scheduling and how that works. But the idea is we create a small community, we create a cohort. You know, we hear anecdotally all the time, some of the best friendships are made in that first year. And, you know, you stick it through because you all have the same mission, which is to complete successfully. And that grows, and as you move on in your career, you make more friends and colleagues, and these are the relationships that last forever. Seriously, when I say that.
Yeah, so I'll just talk a little about the block scheduling. So a typical student that comes in and pursues one of our degree programs in engineering, in the first semester, they're going to take typically an English course, English 105, a calculus course, Calc 1, let's say Math 141, a chemistry course, the first chemistry is Chemistry 107, and then the EAS 199 that Dr. Burke mentioned. And so what our advisement team does is they identify a group of students, let's say 20 or 30 students, that all have those 4 courses that they're going to enroll in. And then we enroll that block of students in common sections of all those different courses. And so what that means is that you're likely to see similar students as you go from one course to another course to another course, and that helps you to form study groups, and helps you to develop friendships and other things that can sort of get you started in the right direction. And I'll just mention in general, so University of Buffalo is certainly a large university, and it's something that here at UB we're very cognizant of. We recognize that we're a large institution, and we recognize that it's to the students' benefit to put in place these sort of mechanisms to help support students and to make a large university feel small. And the block scheduling is one example of that. Dr. Burke mentioned before the small groups opportunities. This is another initiative that we've had to try to make the university feel smaller than it actually is. These are settings where students meet once a week in groups of 15 to 20 students, and so you see the same students week by week. And again, it's just another opportunity to make friendships as well.
And again, I just want to reiterate that it's about initiative, right? I mean, you know, there's tons of resources here, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there and seek them, you know, expose yourself. You know, what makes you different from everyone else who's graduating from another institution or this institution, and that means putting stuff on your resume, becoming involved in the community, being active. But, you know, it's a small environment. Yes, we are a big school, like Dr. Arrington said, but, you know, it's a community. We believe in that.
So we have a question from Jose. If you are approved by a major, for example, civil engineering, and throughout the years you realize that you want to do a different type of engineering, can you change your major? And when is it too late to change your major without affecting your time of graduation?
Yeah, so I can take a shot at that one. So, so students are welcome to change their major. The sort of approach that we have is that the first year program within engineering is quite common. So I just mentioned the set of courses that students typically take during the first semester. There's a different set of courses, or I should say that there are slight variations for students that are interested in computer science. But for the most part, if you're interested in an engineering program, you take a common set of courses during the first semester. Depending upon the program that you're interested in, there might be slight variations in terms of the set of courses that you take in the second semester of the first year. But those differences are relatively minor. And during the first year of study, it is relatively easy to change from one major to another engineering major. It's also relatively easy to change from an engineering major to some other major at the university if you decide that engineering is not for you. So for example, the switch from engineering to business is a much easier switch than it is from business to engineering. And so we've structured the program in such a way that those types of switches are relatively easy. We have a number of students that are switching from civil to chemical or chemical to mechanical or what have you during the first year. After the first year, it becomes a little bit more difficult to change your major. So there is, for example, a certain subset of majors, for example, civil, environmental, mechanical, and aerospace engineering. All of those students have to take a sequence of courses in mechanics. So they're taking courses like statics and dynamics and strength of materials. Those courses are all common to that subset of major. But then you have other majors that maybe you have to take a course in organic chemistry. So for example, chemical engineering and biomedical engineering, you would take courses in organic chemistry and perhaps some courses in biology as well. And so after the first year, certainly students can still switch major if they desire, but I would say that it's after that point where it might become the point at which you start to lose courses or lose credit in some way if you switch from one major to another. But if you decide that that's what's right for you and you need to make that switch, then it's much better to get aligned with the program that really is truly of interest to you than to hesitate in that way. You've got a long career ahead of you, and you certainly want to get into what is relevant to you.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to say, don't talk yourself out of a switch if you feel it's necessary, because it's going to take you one extra semester or even one extra year. Because as Dr. Arrington's saying, you're doing this in theory for the rest of your life. It's going to be your career. So you want the right choice. But part of making the choice or helping you inform that choice is the exploration part, right? As we've said a couple times here, when you get here, start doing that exploring. So you start to understand what it means to be a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer or whatever you're interested in.
And so I'd like to say, I think what some things that have been said is about taking initiative. The idea that UB is really large, but it does become smaller the more initiative and the more questions that you ask. So the more questions you ask, you know, your faculty are here. They really are very welcoming people. So I want to say that I'm not a faculty member, but working with students, please reach out to faculty and ask them questions. You're going to learn so much more. The university is large, but it's going to feel like a small home and really comfortable. And that exploring by asking your faculty questions or even other staff, asking questions, asking our alumni, you're going to learn a lot about what's going to be the right fit, and you're going to study really hard, and you're going to do great things by working on getting an engineering degree. So do explore and choose the one that you think is the right fit for you, that you're going to really enjoy studying, because you're going to be able to do a lot with that, I think.
Especially that you are already asking this question. So there must be some already doubt in your mind. So the earlier you start, the better for you, right? It gives you more time, right?
Yeah, ask questions early. Good, we're getting that one. Okay, so we have another question from Shahid, and that is regarding the flexibility of students' schedules. How much wiggle room can we expect as an engineering student in terms of choosing other classes that we are interested in during the first 2 years?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. Most of the engineering programs have, in the first 2 years, maybe 1 or 2 courses that are sort of elective in nature within the major itself. So by that I mean that you might have like an engineering science elective where you have to choose from a bucket of, let's say, 5 or 6 courses that satisfy that particular degree requirement. So within the first 2 years, the major requirements within engineering are, I would say, relatively structured. Things open up into the junior and in particular the senior year. Oftentimes in our engineering degree programs, there are a number of electives, and it varies from one major to the next, but on the order of, let's say, 3 to 4 to 5 elective courses that you can choose from within the major itself. Typically, those are scheduled for the junior and senior years. One thing that I'll point out too is something outside of the major. So one of the things that the university has done in the past couple of years is completely revamped what's called its general education program. So now it goes by the name of the UB curriculum. But one of the major changes that they made was that instead of a set of prescribed courses that all students needed to take, the program is now much more flexible. And so students have to satisfy 2 pathway requirements, a thematic pathway and a global pathway. And within those pathways, the students choose a theme that is of interest to them. And then there are courses that support that theme. And the courses that you can choose from are quite variable and quite broad. And so it really gives students quite a bit of opportunity to explore different avenues and to really focus on something that is of genuine interest to them.
So can you tell us about the kinds of jobs your students are finding as they graduate?
I mean, all
yeah,
kinds
for
all
sure.
over.
Maybe Holly can start. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the engineering students are finding jobs in every industry. So because we have a broad range of engineering fields as well, from biomedical and mechanical, civil, environmental, electrical, aerospace. So our students are finding opportunities in all of those fields, whether it's R&D roles, research and development types of positions, manufacturing positions, project team leader roles, like I said, in every industry from biomedical type medical devices to manufacturing environments, consulting, like engineering consulting fields. So yeah, they're definitely going into all of those areas. Design, I guess I have a lot of students who have an interest in design, whether that's sort of just using Creo or SolidWorks in a work environment, and 3D printing, which is obviously getting bigger and bigger. And so, yes, so in all of those areas. I know that's still a little bit broad, but they definitely go
That's what it is, though.
into all of
broad,
those
for sure.
areas. So yeah, I think about, we have companies coming to our career fair who are kind of representative, because we have companies in all different kinds of engineering industries, and our students go to all of those different kinds. So yeah, a lot of industries, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, and specifically for EE, I mean, we've got engineers, Facebook, Google, Bloomberg, and then you look at the medical industry, where all the medical devices, all of the big automakers, all the giant tech companies, solar companies, Tesla, they're all over. I mean, we would be hard pressed to even begin to generate a list. And then we know this because our alumni, like I said, they reach back. They're looking for interns and things like that, and they're all industries. All industries.
I'll just say a couple of things. From what we do learn from, the university runs what's called the UB Next survey of our alumni, our graduates. And from what we've learned from that is that the salary distribution that our students earn is consistent with national averages. So if you go to, for example, the Department of U.S. Labor and Bureau of Statistics, and you look up a particular profession, chemical engineering, for example, and find data on average salaries, our graduates, the sort of salaries that they're reporting are consistent with that. One other point I mentioned, so the previous comments were focused on students going into industry. In any given year, we have maybe on the order of 20, 25%. It depends a bit from year to year. It also depends on the major of our students that go on to graduate school. And some of them end up pursuing a master's degree. Some of them also end up pursuing a Doctor of Philosophy degree. And one of the things that we see year after year is that our talented students here get accepted at the very best graduate institutions across the country. So every year we have a set of students that go to MIT, they go to Princeton, they go to Harvard, they go to Stanford. And one of the really nice things about students that end up pursuing a doctoral degree within engineering or STEM fields in general is that at the next level, the students are supported when they pursue a doctoral degree. So it's the university coming to them and saying, hey, we can provide you with your tuition support, and we can also provide you with a stipend, maybe something on the order of $30,000 a year to support yourself. So it's not enough to get rich, it's not enough to buy a fancy car, but you're able to pursue a doctoral degree, and 4, 5, 6 years later have a really nice degree program, a really nice degree that allows you to pursue a lot of different options within engineering.
So my favorite question to undergraduate students is, what is your dream job? What is the company you'd like to work for? And I was asking this question when I was teaching undergraduate in mechanical engineering. And I remember a few students that were very specific about the name of the company. And it was a pure pleasure for me to see, like on LinkedIn, like a few years later, they actually are working for the company that they had in mind. And it's a pure pleasure. Just think, what is the company you'd like to work, rather than follow, okay, majority of my kids go and look for a job there, right? Find something that you'd like to do. It takes you, like, maybe this is not the first job that you get, but like students, like they have a plan and they reach their goal, right? So just think, what is the dream job? What is your dream company that you'd like to work for?
Yeah, I was going to add to that the alternative too. And yeah, if you know certain companies or industries you want to work in, yeah, go to their web pages. There's always a careers section. You can see what kinds of jobs they have right now, entry level, and jobs that are further into your career. Or if you don't know specific companies, just go on a site like Indeed and look under civil engineering entry level positions, and you'll just start to get an idea of, well, what kinds of skills are they looking for? What technical skills are they looking for? You might even see specific software. So that starts to inform not only the degree program you're in, but also, hey, once I'm here, what kinds of extracurricular things should I spend my time on that will help me land this job? So the exploration thing again, comes up.
Tailoring your undergraduate experience to meet your end goal of ending up at a specific company.
Well, I think that concludes the questions that we fielded today, and I'd like to give the panelists a chance to offer any closing wisdom, guidance, insight. Again, I'll begin with you, Dr. Burke.
Okay, so again, thank you for taking the time to join and showing the interest. It's all about getting here and showing your initiative and making the most of every opportunity that's put in front of you. I think the one thing to appreciate the most about coming to UB is that there are a ton of opportunities, and everyone is accessible, and it's totally up to you. It's in your control to go out and pursue that, to make a difference, and make sure that when you come here, you make the most of the time, and most of all, enjoy it, right? Because like it was alluded to, you're going to be doing this the rest of your life. Make sure it's what you want to do and have fun while doing it.
So again, Holly Justice, I completely agree with what Dr. Burke is saying. Take initiative, like I said earlier, ask the questions. And I'd like to say a little bit about my office again. The Career Services Office is a place that you are welcome to come and visit, or visit our website anytime. right now, right? And you can visit our office. We have a lot of staff who are more than happy to talk with you. We work with students from day one of freshman year, their first year here on campus, till past their senior year. So whatever the question is, again, please feel free to come to the Career Services office so that we can have conversation with you, help get you resources, talk through. We do have a lot of resources and services, and so I would say ask questions, stop by, and see how we can be helpful to you. And the earlier, the better. Again, like I said, the more that you ask and you talk with faculty and with staff members at the university, the more you're going to learn and the more opportunities are going to start to open up for you. So thanks for listening and coming on to the event today.
All right, so I'll just begin with a thank you as well. Thanks for participating. We really appreciate it. The other thing I'll mention is this is one Facebook Live session that we're holding. So we tried to organize a panel here today that could speak to you about experiential learning opportunities and career opportunities, and that drove the sort of panelists that we assembled today. But we are looking for ideas that you have. What are the sorts of things that you'd like to know more about the University of Buffalo, the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, specific departments? If you have those ideas, we're looking to organize other Facebook Live sessions that we'd like to organize the people that can speak to those things that you're interested in and put those panels together. So if you have ideas, you can send an email to smp2@buffalo.edu. My email address is jerring, jerring, @buffalo.edu. And if we get some good ideas, then we'll go ahead and organize those panels and hold more of these Facebook Live sessions. In terms of final comments, I would just echo that the University of Buffalo, like I mentioned before, is a Research 1 institution. That means that it's a school on the large side, but it means that it has lots and lots and lots of opportunities available to you. And there are, at the same time, lots and lots and lots of people here on campus that are eager and ready to help you to explore those different opportunities and to help you get comfortable with them and to get you pointed in the right direction. And so not only are there opportunities, but there is a support infrastructure to get you pointed in the right direction and to support you in exploring those.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Yeah, I echo everything that was said. I think that the key message today was the idea of exploring once you get here, right? Don't just go to class and only class, explore. And so we said a lot about exploring at UB. I want to say, especially if you're not from Buffalo, explore Buffalo. So often students arrive here and they don't get out and see Buffalo. And look, at this point in the year, yes, it's maybe not the ideal time to go out. It is winter, but the fall is awesome in Buffalo. The late spring is great, and winter can be fun too because there are things to do like skiing. You have 2 Great Lakes nearby. Toronto's nearby. I mean, this is an awesome place to be. And I know because I live here, and we go off and do all kinds of fun stuff all the time. So, come join us and have some fun here.
Yeah, I will echo everything. So thank you for coming and showing interest in learning more about UB. And as a faculty, I would like to welcome all of you in our offices. We are approachable. We like to talk to you, and come by and ask questions. Just in 5 minutes will make a huge difference. So just come and ask.
I would like to thank you for joining us today, and we've appreciated having the opportunity to interact with you. And if you have questions for any of our esteemed panelists, feel free to email those to me as well, and I can send them out to the individuals rather than share everyone's email address here. So I'm Shannon, and my email is smp2@buffalo.edu, and I welcome both your ideas for future themes or topics for Facebook Live, and also any questions that you might have for the panelists today. We're hoping for a follow-up conversation or anything. With that being said, we thank you very much for your time.
Go Bulls.
Yeah, go Bulls. So long.
Thank you.